So Cardano ADA has dropped 7% to the downside, and the question remains, where are we headed next? Now, just to quickly recap, I've been tracking this WXY structure where I'm targeting this range here between 81 cents and 84 cents. And within this Y wave, we have a WXY structure that I've been tracking, and I have been anticipating ADA to reach this region here between 76.66 cents and 78.55 cents. While at the same time looking for ADA to break this mark here at 77 cents. And we ended up doing both, so we ended up reaching this region while at the same time breaking this local high. Now, within this Y wave, we have a WXY structure that I've been tracking, and I've been anticipating ADA to reach this region between 77.68 cents and 79.05 cents. And this Y wave also had a WXY structure where I was targeting ADA to reach this region here between 78.55 cents and 79.68 cents. Now, both targets weren't met, and that doesn't necessarily mean that the structures are invalid, because both targets are a 1 to 1.236 retracement of the respective W waves, and typically the Y wave retraces between 1 and 1.236, but it's not so much a necessity. And the minimum requirement is 0.618, and so what I'll do is just to break that down for you guys and make it simpler. So what you have here is, for example, this Y wave target was between this range here, that 1 to 1.226 retracement of our wave W. Now, it's not so much a necessity. The minimum requirement is this level here at 0.618, which it ended up meeting. And so the structures are valid despite not reaching this upper target. And so, yeah, same can be said for this structure here too. And yeah, we then ended up seeing this move to the downside. And, the question that's on people's mind right now is, are we going to continue to see moves to the downside, or are we going to see a reversal and see a continuation to the upside where we can potentially reach this upper region that I've been targeting? Now, the interesting thing is both scenarios are in play right now. And so the bearish scenario is we could be in a WXY structure to the downside, and we could potentially see ADA reach the mid to upper 60s range. And so, for example, what we could see is that Y wave would again typically retrace anywhere between 1 and 1.236, so this range here. However, the minimum requirement is 0.618, so at 71 cents, but typically it retraces within this region here. So that's the bearish scenario, and as you can see, the local low could be broken if this scenario plays out. And the bullish scenario is we could see a reversal and this corrective move is complete, where we have a potential WXY structure forming or has formed, and the X wave is shallow, and then we see a reversal to the upside. Now, a couple of videos ago, I talked about how we could potentially see a bigger WXY structure, and this could be in play. And so what I'll do is I'll leave a link to that video in the description if you are interested in watching that video, where I broke that structure down. And so this could also be in play where the corrective move is now complete, and we could see a reversal to the upside where we can then target out this range here. And so what I'll do very quickly is go down to the minute chart, and I'll check to see if those requirements were also met. So what you could see potentially forming here is WXY, and if I just zoom in slightly, and then that Y wave again would typically retrace anywhere between 1 and 1.236, and as you can see, we actually just about extended beyond that 1.236 level, and so yeah, this structure could be complete right now, and we could see a reversal and see moves to the upside. And so that's the bullish scenario that I talked about a couple of videos ago. Once again, if you're interested in watching that video, then feel free to do so. And we could then potentially see this region here be met in this bigger WXY structure. So again, what I'll do is, if I bring this to here, and then you can see that 1 to 1.236 level reaches this region here. So that's the bullish scenario, but of course we have to wait and see how everything pans out. And obviously this is what I'm going to be tracking throughout the day. As it stands right now, we are looking healthy, given that we are hovering over the 200 DMA. Now, we did briefly lose the 200 DMA, but then we ended up extending beyond that 200 DMA and retested that 50 EMA. And as it stands right now, we are getting rejected. And so ideally, I'd like to see ADA, break through that 50 EMA and continue to see me through the upside in order for us to be bullish. Now, another scenario that could be in play right now, which is still bearish, is a potential WX or Y structure where we could potentially see ADA retest the 200 EMA and then see another move to the upside and then see another rejection where we could potentially reach this region here. So in other words, what we could see is a WXY structure and then a bigger WXY move, and then we could potentially reach this region here. But of course, this is something I'm going to be tracking today and tomorrow. Now, if I'm moving over to the 4-hour chart, we are looking healthy given the fact that we are hovering over that 50 EMA. And ideally, I'd like to see ADA retest that 200 EMA. But again, that scenario could play out where we could have a WXY structure where the Y wave gets rejected at the 200 EMA, and then we'll see a continuation to the downside where we could then potentially reach this region here. Now, Smart Money Concept is indicating that we have a weak high at our local top at 77 cents. And so we are still looking bullish as things stand at the moment. And if you look at the stochastic RSI, we are within the oversold conditions. And so we still have the momentum to actually continue to push to the upside. And so, but first things first, ideally, I'd like to see ADA retest that 200 EMA. And should we do so, I'd like to see ADA find support. And then that's when we can start to target out this upper range here. Now, the daily chart is interesting because as things stand at the moment, we are hovering over the 200 EMA. The current price is above the 200 EMA. Now, we did close below the 200 EMA, which is slightly bearish. And we do have the stochastic RSI, which is also indicating that we are within the overbought conditions. And so we do need to be wary of this scenario playing out where we have a WXY structure forming. But either way, in the long run, it's still bullish because we're still hovering over this low at 64 cents. And so we could see a bigger WXY structure forming where we could still target out this range here that I talked about in my previous videos. And so, yeah, a lot kind of hinges on where ADA, heads next in the next few hours or in the next couple of days. As things stand right now, we are consolidating. And despite us consolidating, we are still looking healthy. But ideally, I'd like to see ADA continue to push through this 50 EMA where we are currently finding rejection. And, should we do so, then that would be a bullish sign and we can then still target out this range here. But if we fail to, break through that 50 EMA, then there is a possibility that we continue to move to the downside where we could potentially reach this region here. And so, yeah, that's just my quick update on Cardano ADA. Hopefully you found this useful. And if you did, then feel free to hit that like button. And if you're new, then feel free to subscribe. Take it easy, people. Peace.